Parents of TikTok, what is the creepiest thing your kid has ever said to you?
Not my kid, but when I worked at a preschool 3 years ago, this is what happened. I had 2-year-olds. This preschool was in a pretty old church. I mean, it's not like historically old, but it wasn't new either. So this was the beginning of the year. One of my kids was going to the bathroom. She was closed in her little bathroom stall, and I hear her talking to someone. Like, she'll talk, wait for a response, talk again, wait for a response, talk again. When she came out, I was like, hey girl, who are you talking to? She's like, the man that tickles me. I'm sorry, what? But of course she was 2, so I was like, okay girl, whatever, let's move on. And a few weeks later, I took a couple kids in from the playground so that they could all go to the bathroom at the same time. I was hanging out with one of my little dudes, just the 2 of us, while we waited for everyone else to finish. And he just started talking to me, telling me about the man that tickles him and how he didn't feel like talking to him that day. At that point, I was like, I'm gonna look into this because I'm scared. As it turns out, a nice man was replacing the roof, fell off and died at the church.
So this isn't my kid, and it's not what they said, it's what they did. Not long after we moved to this house, the previous owners had some mail delivered here and they came over to get it. We were just talking about a bunch of random stuff, and the woman was telling us about her older sister when she was growing up. Apparently at the time there was this trend of like choking yourself until you passed out. Her sister accidentally killed herself. A few days later, my brother, his wife, and their children came over to play. Now all the kids are playing in the front yard, and the 4-year-old wanders off into the driveway. She stops, turns to us, puts both hands around her throat, and starts choking herself till she's red in the face. My sister-in-law, made her stop. She's like, what are you doing? Don't do that. Don't choke yourself. Don't hurt yourself. Go play. So she's kind of laughing it off. She turns around and looks at my mother and I and is like, what? So we tell her the story. Where my niece started choking herself was the exact spot she told us that story. It was really creepy.
Okay, so when my son was about 3.5 years old, he came up with this imaginary friend named Mr. Red. And didn't think anything of it. He's 3 and he's an only child. No kids to really play with. I had him at 17. It was normal. Well, about a month later, we were at my friend's house and he's in the living room and we're down the hallway on the other side of the house watching a movie. He's playing with his cars, he's watching TV, whatever. I hear him say, no, I'm going to get in trouble. My mom will get mad. Okay. Well, who is he talking to? So I stop, I listen, she stops, she's listening. And all of a sudden he stops. And he's like, Mommy and Aunt Deanna, stop doing that. He doesn't like when you listen to him. What? We freaked the fuck out. I basically call him in the room and I'm like, so who are you talking to? And he's like, Mr. Red. And I'm like, well, what does Mr. Red look like? And he's like, he's a tall man with a red face and he wears black. And I'm like, okay, well, what does he want you to do that you're going to get in trouble for? And he's like, and then he stops. And this panic look comes over his face. And he says, I don't want to talk about it anymore. Can I please go play my cars? Me and my friend are like, what the fuck? Sure, go play with your cars. He turns around, he takes about 2 or 3 steps, and he launches across the hallway into the bathroom. Freaked the fuck out. We're like, there's no way we just saw that. Like, he tripped, he had to have, maybe the floors are slippery, I don't know, hardwood floors, I don't know. So then, we get up, we freak the fuck out, he's like crying, I'm okay, I'm okay, I'm okay. And no, absolutely fucking not, now I'm scared, okay? But, whatever. I let it go because, again, he had it tripped. So then, it kept going on for about a year. I would hear him talking to him. He was getting in trouble, but not like big things, he's 3, like just getting into things he's not supposed to. So then, he turns like 4.5, and by 5, no clue who Mr. Red was. Okay. Whatever, we forgot about it. Till I told my family, and then my family informed me that my mom's aunt's child, so my mom's cousin, the oldest, did the same exact thing from 3.5 to 4.5. Can somebody tell me what's going on with my family?
The scariest thing that my daughter told me, that was when she was like around 2.5 years. And she says, Mommy, I know why you're afraid of the sea. Which I proceed to say, how do you know I'm afraid of the sea? I mean, I never say nothing around her about me being afraid of the sea. We live 5 hours away from the sea. She has never been on the sea before. And she proceeded to say this, oh, when you were my sister, You drown on the sea. Just right in front of me, mommy. It's okay. I love you. What the fuck? Like, she was my sister in another life, I guess so. That was pretty scary. She's very smart, but that was the scariest shit she ever told me.
And I always thought, you know, kids, they have imaginary friends sometimes. It's fine. It's normal. Anyway, about a year ago when he was like 4, he says to me, Henry's my friend from when I lived in a different house ages ago and I had different parents. I was just like, oh, that's nice. What am I supposed to say to that kind of thing? So after this, he proceeds to tell me that him and Henry used to play in a stream behind their house all the time and it was really fun. And yet again, I'm like, oh, that's lovely, dear. And then, and this is the bit that gets me, he tells me that one time there was a flood and him and his friend went to play in the stream round the back of the house, but Henry went under the water and didn't come up again. And now at this bit I'm like, sorry, what? And I said to Dax, I said, oh, that's really sad, Dax. And he looks at me with this little like smile on his face and he goes, it's okay, Mum, I still see Henry and play with him. Except when I play with him now, Mummy, his clothes are always wet and he always looks really sad. In my head I'm like, fuck no. Fuck no. Still to this day, when I put him to bed, he sometimes says to me, Mum, you've got to say goodnight to Henry too. Like, night, Henry. I mean, I debated cleansing the entire house afterwards, after he told me that. Maybe just a constant salt circle around Dax. Then I thought, hey, Henry's not bothering me or him. And he makes him happy, and they play together, so I don't feel like there's any harm in it. I mean, maybe he'll just grow out of it, right? I mean, I hope.
So at the time, my children were 5, 8, and 12. And my 8-year-old was always talking about this man that would come in her room and talk to her. And I thought it was like a imaginary friend. And she says, he watches you every night. He watches us all every night. And she says when she talks to him, she hears children playing, like a playground. She could hear children playing, and he would just have a conversation with her. And so I was like, you know, all kids have imaginary friends and things like that, so I didn't really worry about it. Then my 12-year-old said, hey, I was in the bathroom and I saw this man pacing back and forth through the hallway. And I'm like, what? Okay, y'all is tripping. So then my son, who was 5, said the night before he saw this strange man sitting at the computer, sitting in the computer chair. And I was like, what? So maybe 5 days passed and I hear my daughter whimpering. And I go in and I say, what's wrong? And she looks at me and she's like, I can't say it. I wasn't supposed to talk about him. I mean, she was really like frantic. So I'm like, what? She's like, he's angry at me. He's mad. I wasn't supposed to tell anybody about him. He's really mad. So I'm like, what in the world? So of course I started pleading the blood and praying. But the next night I was in bed and I felt an image all over me, like pressing on my chest. And I literally saw this image, which was the silhouette of a man walking away through the door. And I could feel the anger. Let me tell you, we got up out of that house. We went to stay with my mom for like 4 or 5 days till we had the whole motherboard at our house praying. But it was scary. And another thing, we had my son had a little Elmo chair that laughed, and my husband had took the batteries out of it one night in the same house. And one night, like 2 a.m., it just started laughing. And my husband was like, I thought I took the batteries out of this thing. Baby, he opened the back of that chair. The batteries were gone. We nearly set that thing on fire. I'm just saying.
Okay, so when my oldest was about 5, he would get out of the bathtub and be visibly like bothered and upset and a little scared of something. And when I'd ask him, Bubba, what's wrong? Why are you upset? He would say, there's a clown in the drain. A clown in the drain. Mind you, this child had never seen a clown before in his life, except for the clowns that are cross-stitched on my flour sack towels. Never seen a clown before. How do you know what that is? But apparently there's scary clowns in our drain in the tub.
Okay, so I have a 4-year-old son who was being watched by his grandparents. And, you know, we've never had the death conversation before, you know, never felt the need, never had to. So I come to pick my son up and he comes running to the car and he says, Mom, there's a dead cat. Come see the dead cat. And I come out and I'm like, okay, I'll come see the dead cat. And I come in the back and there's a brick outside with some flowers for Fellini, my in-law's cat who passed away before. And I said, oh yeah, honey, this is where, you know, we come to visit Fellini and, you know, say hi. My son looks at me and says, he can't hear you. He's dead. And I said, oh, yeah, I guess so. And then he went, no more meows. No more meows.
So my son was 6 years old at the time. He's getting ready for bed and I kiss him goodnight. He looks at me and says, Mom? And I say, yes. He said, there's a girl behind my eyes and I need her to go away. And I said, what? There's a girl behind my eyes and I need her to go away. Can you make her go away? What do you mean, girl behind your eyes? She's green and she's got dark hair. And she's scaring me and she needs to go away and I can't get her to go away. So I'm like, all right, go away, green girl. How's that? He goes, okay, but seriously this time, Mom, I need her to go away. Make her go away. I'm like, okay, So he tells me to get this girl to go away. So I tell him to close his eyes and give me his hand. We're gonna go make this girl go away together. So as his eyes are closed, I said, can you see the girl? He says, yes, Mama, I can see that girl. I said, good, okay, so now I need you to build a door. Build a door? Yes, in your mind, build a door and make sure that she's on the other side. He takes a few seconds and I said, let me know when you're finished. Takes another few seconds and he says, okay, Mama, I'm finished. I said, okay, good. And I took his hand and I spreaded it out into a fan and I said, can you feel this? This is a key. He said, okay. And I said, take this key and I need you to lock that door. He takes the key and he locks his door. I said, now you tell that girl that she's on the other side of the door and the door is locked and she's not allowed to come in. So he does just that. He opens his eyes and I ask him if the girl is gone. He says, yes, thank you. He falls right asleep.